Okay, everybody, welcome back to episode 62 of Galileo Super Colonization, where we're going to be colonizing the solar system, the Galileo system. So, we still have plenty of electric charge, about 7,000 of that stuff. So, we've actually entered, basically we're passing by, doing a flyby of Lota. There is Lota, right there. And then there's a Gale right there, I think, just quite far away. Quite hard to see anything really but luckily I did bring some lights so we could actually see things. Anyway, but it still doesn't help. Jesus. Okay, so we need to burn. We're actually pointed to burn, and as you see here, we were going to be burning, and hopefully we should get an orbit of Lota, and then hopefully with the fuel we'll have left essentially on the lander stage. We're about to land, and then hopefully when you fully fuel it on the surface, we'll be able to take off and go to SETI and study the surface of SETI very thoroughly. Okay, and I might even have to bring more fuel with me. I might have to, like, maybe just I don't know. Anyway, we're about to get captured, and we still have plenty of fuel on this stage. In fact, this stage right now that we're using is a bit totally overkill. Okay, there we go. That's pretty good. So we'll see. Oh, okay. So now we actually lowered our orbit in one side to a mere 12 kilometers altitude. You have a multispectral analysis we could do from orbit. Yes, do that. Multispectral. Okay, we have another multispectral analysis we could do. That's more science, precious scientific data that we could keep and store and analyze, and then transmit the data. Basically, we're doing two copies of it, or like basically we put one through the lab, then we transmit the other, and then that kind of helps it. We have another multispectral analysis we could do. That's just we already analyzed that data, so we just need to transmit that data. There we go. There's the communications annoying sound. Multispectral. There we go. So now we just put it in the lab so we can analyze the data, and now we're transmitting the data once again. So basically, looking at the images, looking at the multispectral. I think that's like really looking at this rock Lota kind of in across the EM spectrum. I think that's what the experiment does. So like it looks at it for infrared, light, and then maybe X-rays. Looking through the entire EM spectrum to just see what it looks like across all those across the EM spectrum. Basically, that's really it. So one of the things I'm actually thinking about as well is that we haven't really studied the high orbit of Lota. So I'm thinking that, if I'm going to lower the orbit on the other side from 1,000,000 or so kilometers, we should probably lower it to a quite reasonable height, and then raise it up again on the other side, because we haven't actually really studied high orbit of the moon. We haven't taken any real gravity scans of high orbit. So yeah, that's interesting. So, and then we still have life support for another 120 days, and then after the life support runs out, we need to land to gather more supplies. There's the makeshift computer, the one that got us into orbit last episode. So since we've already done the Mystery Goo experiments again, oh no, don't move, spacecraft, please don't do that. We need to reset the Mystery Goo experiments once again and do this tedious process of going out there and to collect the data, restore the experiment. And only scientists know how to carefully restore the experiment to make it work again. I want to collect Mystery Goo and restore it. And then next thing you want to do is I think wait a minute. So oh yeah, that's what I was missing, right? I was wondering, you know, oh, don't hit the radiators, me, come on. Or Galileo, what is this? Robert Kerman, sorry. Okay, so I really don't want to use up all of his fuel out here, otherwise he'll be stuck and die. So we do want him to die, so I need to take the gravity data, because basically for some reason this gravity scanner can only take one piece of data at a time for some reason. Don't ask me why, but it has to for some reason. I don't know why. And then obviously we need to log gravity data, run it through the lab. Log gravity data. Take that at log gravity data. And then take the data. There we go. So now we just logged the same gravity data like 3 times, and hopefully that should give us enough. Because, you know, this experiment is supposed to measure gravity on different biomes, see if there's any difference in gravity from the hills or the flat or the lowlands or the midlands. And in the technical, you know, but then you might find something really weird, like the fact that even though lowlands would have less mass, right? It has more gravity or something, you know. So find some weird things like that. I think it's actually a pretty interesting idea to kind of go orbit here, and it clearly looks like that Lota really doesn't have any tall mountains. Even though we're 11 kilometers up, we're almost like touching. We could really see the surface in detail. We could probably go lower than this. It would be very risky, generally speaking. Okay, now we just had another gravity scan, and that's going to be another tedious process to go there and remove the data. You know, so one of the things I'll keep in mind next time for this this thing is pro designed is that I should put all the sound tissue units near the lab, so I could kind of just pop out the hatch and just kind of gather the data around, like literally have the instrument like next to it, so I could gather data from the lab and not have to fly over there and use precious RCS propellant or you know, that valuable stuff. But obviously now we need to actually go out there and get the gravity data, because basically when you grab the gravity scan, we get about 340 units of science from like just researching it in a lab. But then when you actually stick it like in like basically in the hard drive and then ship it back home, you get another like 100 science from it. So you know, doing this is actually really worth it, because you're really getting a lot of scientific data back. And obviously we want to take like about basically take about 3 samples of it. So we log the gravity data 3 times just to make sure, just to have, you know, 3 units of data, so we know that that's absolutely what's happening. Don't want to hit those massive graphene radiators. I mean, those radiators are just sticking out of the nuclear reactor. They are completely overkill though. But this thing is kind of designed as well to be kind of a base, like a future base, but it's kind of over-engineered, really. Okay, so now we could warp time ahead, and we're probably going to hit something else. Yes, we have a gravity scan of this area, and have a material study over this. There we go. And our lab is almost is not quite full of data, but we do have quite a lot of data. And there we go. That's another gravity scan that for some reason you have to go out and take again, because we can't just, you know, simply transmit the data. Like, you know, it is a bit weird how you have to go get the data. Like it's just strange to me, because here I am thinking, like, if you could send the data directly to the lab from the gravity scanner, and if you could send the data directly from the gravity scanner to the antenna so you can actually transmit the data, then why in the world do you have to go there and get it? Like it makes sense for like Mr. Go material study when I get those materials that have been, you know, influenced, but have been fused or melted or whatever happened to them in those temperatures. But for experiments that are essentially just ones and zeros, just data, like I don't know, a temperature scan or a gravity scan, you shouldn't have to do that because they're just a bunch of binary digits. They're really not important. I think it's not worth getting that science. It's just very little science, and I don't really think it's worth it. So I think we've basically collected all the scientific data around SETI now. There really isn't much data to really collect, so I think what I'll do is it'll come down here. It's going to overshoot it. I know it will because this thing sucks. And we will almost pointing literally retrograde. That's really convenient. And I want to lower our orbit on this side to something very tiny. Only about 8 kilometers on that side, and that's going to be almost directly over the old station. Now this station, what I can do, like, this thing really only needs ore. So if I actually look here in the, basically I need it for find a landing spot, right? So if I look at the ScanSat map, it's very slow. Not this one. This is the Gale one. Now this is the more correct one. Okay, so this is so we're basically hovering directly over one biome. I think it would say, I think if I get Kerbal Engineer out and say, give me some surface data, yeah, it's the highlands. So we're directly over the highlands. So if we stopped right now, if we literally turned around and burnt a lot, and it wanted to stop right now, we would be essentially directly on the highlands. Now I quickly want to do something. I want to switch over to this thing and see which, like this base right here, which biome it's sat on, because I want to make sure if I'm going to land out, I want to land on a different biome, so I could actually get different scientific data, because the highlands is just a bunch of mountains, really. I want to for sure go to the midlands and the lowlands. I think this one is in the midlands, so well, if I could literally burn right there and slow the hell down, and I could even land on the engines, on the engine, and not make it into a relay, really, but okay, so obviously the probe is dead. As you can see there, there's the nuclear reactor is broken. It's the only reason why I want to abandon the stations, because it just doesn't work anymore. Like, it doesn't produce data day and night. It can't produce its own life support properly. The station's just complete trash, basically. Space trash. So, yeah. I think I've decided now. I think we're just going to burn. Right now. Like, we're literally going to cancel out basically all of our horizontal velocity. Like, everything we've got. And then I'm going to go straight down into the highlands. Now, obviously, this stage is supposed to be a satellite, but I guess I could just, whatever. I guess just, I over-engineered it as usual, so sure. So I want to see if the NetJib computer could help me. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's actually F5 for safe, because I've never actually done this before. Pick target on map. Right there. MacJib. Okay, so now I've given the control of this vessel to the flight computer entirely. So hopefully it won't kill us all. Okay, I'm just saying, right? I have autosaved the game. Oh my gosh, I have to end it now. Oh, crap. Goodbye, guys. Haha.